have a special guest on. We have my guy Luke G from Luke G's Field Review, part of the DSA, Detroit Sports Alliance. Luke G, how's it going, man?
Hey, I'm ready. You know, you said football, I can't run.
For sure,
I
for
can't run.
sure.
This is like Sunday dinner for me.
For sure, for sure. My guy Luke G says he eats, breathes, and basically lives football.
Yes.
So, so you're a Lions fan. So let's talk about Matt Patricia. So we know Matt Patricia is going into a critical year this year in 2020, right? So with the ongoing pandemic, let's say the Detroit Lions hit the fan again, right? Now, if the ongoing pandemic, and we don't know how long the NFL season is going to be, how do you think this affects Matt Patricia? Do you think he could end up getting another year if Detroit folds, or do you think they could end up moving on?
Yeah, I think I would be shocked if they fired him. I think he automatically gets another year just because of this pandemic. Um, the Lions have not shown um, the guts to just go ahead and move on from the coach like this in recent times. But I can understand if they want to give him a third year. But I think just because of all the things that this pandemic has thrown out of whack in the off season, they're going to give him another year. So I think he stays here to that fourth year. But if this early troubles early young, then I think they'll start to look at his play.
So when we're looking at the Detroit Lions, right? You're looking at a team that last year battled injuries down the stretch. You guys were really improved going into the offseason. A lot of you guys felt you guys should end up going 10 wins or even more. I had you guys going 8-8. So going into this year with the Green Bay Packers really the same team as they were last year. The Minnesota Vikings pretty much in the same department. Basically, the division is basically in the same state it was last year. No teams really took a step back, and no teams really took a giant leap in step. Maybe you want to say the Chicago Bears because anybody's an upgrade over Mr. Trubisky. But I mean, how do you feel about the Detroit Lions going into this season? And do you think Matt Patricia can get this team to a divisional title or potentially a playoff berth?
For me, it's not no secret that I'm not a fan of that. I've seen enough to know that he was running on the job and tried to put in the proving ground for a head coach. So do I see him doing anything this season? No. Just looking at opponents alone this year, without knowing when they play, it don't look too good. And to me, with Matt Patricia, I just feel like I'll put it this way. I disagree with you that the division is bad because it's not ever a year for you to win your division. It has to be this year. The Vikings are not the same. They've lost a lot of pieces from their defense with Matthew Stafford like what 8 or 10 times. So no Everson Griffin, no Linval Joseph, and no Trey Waynes, no Xavier Rhodes. They're coming in with a lot of fresh faces and stuff, and probably a rookie quarterback in Cameron Dantzler. So you should be able to take advantage of that. But I go into the Bears. I mean, yeah, obviously they moved up from Mitchell Trubisky, but they still was in the dog fight with it. And if we were able to run the ball and get pressure on the quarterback, they don't beat us. But we wasn't. The Packers, I thought, were very fortunate last year. I thought their record was very fortunate, and it's one of the reasons why their time in the playoffs was short-lived. I thought there's a little hype going on with the overreaction of it all. And right now, we all know when you upset Aaron Rodgers, he gets real petty. The last time he got real petty, he had a head coach, Mike McCarthy. He threw the ball away more than any quarterback in the NFL. So his division is definitely up for grabs. And I think that the Lions, the standard for them should be to win the division. But I don't believe in that trick. And it all starts with the simplest pieces, which is either defensive line and head coach. Because one side of the ball that sucks the most, it's the defense.
Thank you. I don't mean to cut you off, but thank you, Lou. I I've been telling Detroit Lions fans this for like what 2 straight seasons. I've been preaching it. Lions fans been coming at me saying he needs more time. He needs more time. Let me tell you something. If you're an offensive minded coach, what should not be the worst part of your team? The offense. If you're a defensive minded coach, the defense should not be that bad. I don't care how many injuries you have. If Philadelphia can go to the playoffs with what? Backup wide receivers, backup what? The year before they went to the playoffs with basically guys off the street playing cornerback. So if you can coach, you can freaking coach, Luke D. So thank you for agreeing with me on that. Because
Take it a step further though. Take it a step further. When I do nothing but Lions YouTube, and so when I hear Lions fans that decide to come at me, and I'm like, y'all want to keep talking about injuries, but I mean, what quarterback was the Pittsburgh Steelers over?
yep.
They didn't have their top receiver up there. They didn't have no elite tight ends and stuff on offense. They defense had injuries up the line. They still went 8-8. That's coaching.
Yep.
It's all coaching. We talk about the overreaction and underreaction. I mean, look, Tom Brady is no longer a baby. I want to tell me who they drafted at quarterback. Ain't no panic in them. They coach. So to me, when I look at this team and I'm like, okay, Kyle Wills for offensive person. Did our offense really suck under Kyle Wills? No. It didn't really suck under Kyle Wills himself. It sucked under his loyalty to coordinators. That's what sucked. So, yeah, that's where it messed up at. But when I look at a player, I say to myself, if you're a receiver, you should do one thing on. Catch a damn ball. That's what should happen. If you are a quarterback, you should be able to throw the ball. So when I see a coach, and you are a coach, you should be able to coach a game. And if the one side, as a head coach, you got a whole different set of tools. If your defense is dead last in every category, and you're a defensive-minded head coach,
it's a problem. Yeah. You see, I agree, man. I agree. So, I mean, basically, me and you are on the same page because me, personally, I want to bring you in because I want to see what your thoughts was because initially, I've made like 3 videos, Luke G, that I've never uploaded about why I felt Matt Patricia wasn't a coach. I recorded them, all facts and everything, but I never really uploaded them, right? Because I wanted to get a perspective from a Detroit Lions fan. And basically, me and you agree on the same thing, right? So the question is, this year, what would give me one reason why Detroit Lions fans, including yourself, should believe in Matt Patricia? One reason.
To me, if I had to be honest and look at one reason why, he acknowledged his flaws as a head coach and blew up that defense. Deshaun Robinson's no longer with us. Next is not with us. Quandre's not with us. Jerry Slay is not with us, and the list goes on and on and on players who's not with us. Now, to me, when you do something like that, that's cool. He also went out and added Jamie Collins. He brought in Reggie Ragland. But I still think that our defense in some areas is incomplete. But to sit there and say, hey, I don't like to get on defense, I'm going to blow it up. Okay, cool. He blew it up. Our entire secondary is basically different because you don't have Rashawn Melvin anymore. We still got Justin Coleman, and we still got Tracy Walker. But the entire secondary has been destroyed. So I give him props for that. I give him props for finally allowing. I mean, even though they say he walked away, I think that was a cheap way of doing it. But I give him props for making, telling that defensive coordinator and mentor is, this ain't gonna work, bro. You gotta go. So I give him props for that. But where the props stop at for me is, I don't think it's enough for us to give him that type of faith. I just don't. To me, what made me excited about our general manager, Bob Quinn, was he said 97 wasn't good enough. Now, he fired Jim Caldwell to win 97, right?
That season.
11-5 in three of his 4-year period. So 11-5, 97, and 79. Okay, 97 wasn't good enough. For me, that was like an open invitation to we have a new standard. Then when all of a sudden that Patricia goes 9-22 or 9-21-1, now that standard
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, with Matt Patricia, I just look at it and I say, look, you know, if I got to give the fans one thing, look, at least he's learned on the go. I give him that. But this whole idea about not getting rid of a head coach because you don't want to have a coaching carousel, you can't win with a coaching carousel and all this other stuff. I get it. But go talk to the Cincinnati Bengals who had the same coach for a long period of time and was still mediocre the entire time. The Dallas Cowboys. Go and talk to them. They had Nathan Garrett 8 years. That team should have had well over 100. That thing should have had at least 2 Super Bowls out of the team that they had. But that offensive line, that rushing attack, and a rookie quarterback, you didn't even get nothing done in that process. So you wasted the rookie quarterback contract. But guess what? They had continuity at the head coaching position. The reason that the Pittsburgh Steelers only had 3 head coaches who all went to the Super Bowl was because those head coaches were always in constant training behind the next person. They didn't lose their assistants to stuff like that. They would tell them, like, hey, you can have this assistant, but this one, he can't go nowhere because he's in constant training to take over when this thing is over. So to me, when I look at this, I say to myself, how can I give my fan base hope? They got to show it. They ain't letting I can tell you that's going to be different when it comes to Matt Patricia because I can go through games and show you where I'm like, this part we lost. When he's trying to chew clock with 50 minutes on the clock against Arizona. You know, when he's 4 for 2 in a game where you're up. And I defended him in the on one of the games where they like he should have threw the challenge flag. And I was like, for what? But on his ability to get us a higher record, like to me, my standard is high for the line. Manage this vision or you're fired.
All right, so Ruchi, let's segue to this, right? Before we dive into what to expect from the Detroit Lions, I want you to tell us what your expectations is for newly acquired rookie cornerback Jeff Okuda, who you guys took in the first round with the 3rd overall selection of this year's NFL draft. And how big of a role do you think he will have in the defense, and what impact do you think he will have in the defense, and how good will he be this season in his rookie year?
For me, the pick is this. Okay, so this whole draft, I've told the subscribers and I told people that there was nothing the Lions could do with this draft that would upset me because all I kept hearing is that Patricia doesn't have this guy. So when I go through and look at it from a football scheme, just a football point, what was the last cornerback who changed the dynamic of the defense? Darrell Reeves legitimately shut down receivers. Like, he didn't shut down half the field. He shut the receiver down. Like, completely took him out the game. And that didn't really change the fortunes of the Jets because they started adding pass rushers and stuff like that to get home. You go to Deion Sanders. He played on the Atlanta Falcons. He played on the 49ers. And he played on Dallas. And he had his fair moments of success with the Falcons and them. But let's be honest. It wasn't until he got to Dallas with that defense in front seven that it really took off to another level. And the fact that he had kicked his punt return ability. So my expectation is not even my expectation. It's what I heard a former Detroit Lions say. I heard Global Queen say, if you're taking a cornerback 3rd overall, you gotta be a monster. So my attitude to it is this. You took him 3rd overall, cool. He gotta be a monster. I don't want no excuses about he needs time to grow because guess what? If it doesn't work and you're already on borrowed time, then how much time is it going to take? Like, I've asked people this question before where it's been Jalen Ramsey, how does he compare to some of the ones who came out? Is he better than a Denzel Ward or Marshawn Lattimore? People who played at his school. My question became, who did he go with? And I watched, and I was like, every time he made plays, the QBs were probably not going to be 1st or 2nd round draft picks. Let's be honest. They're not. And on top of that, they were under constant pressure from that front seven.
I'll say this. I'll say this about Jeff Okuda. A couple of things I like about Jeff Okuda that really stood out to me is that he tackles, which is something that you don't get out of C.J. Henderson. I mean, see, see, it was a Lou G. When I was researching about C.J. Henderson, they said C.J. Henderson literally chooses when he wants to tackle.
Listen, I mean, it's a reality. It is. It's a reality. And to me, I did a video saying that Jeff Okuda wasn't worth the top 10 pick. I did that before he was even good.
I saw that. I saw that.
I think he's a very good player. A very good player. But a quarterback third overall, to me, don't help the cause. It doesn't, because of the teams we're getting ready to go against. Like if you just look at the team one and they two receivers, you go to the Buccaneers, who he gonna shut down? You think he shut down Mike Evans? You think he shut down Chris Goodwin?
I mean, it could. I mean, if he's as good as he's expected to be, I think he could. Because here's the reason why I like the Jeff Okuda pick. So Matt Patricia comes from the Bill Belichick coaching tree, right? What is the only position in football do you see Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots spend the most money on in free agency? That's the secondary. Bill Belichick knows how important it is to have a great secondary, because you saw how good the New England Patriots secondary was, and you saw what it did for his defense. So I'm looking at it, Matt Patricia, that, okay, you bring in Desmond Trufant and you bring on Jeff Okuda. So what's to say Jeff Okuda will be assigned to cover the number one guy? What if Desmond Trufant has that task, Lou G?
Okay. So let's say I play the devil's advocate. I come down this road with you, right? I'm coming down the road with you. The first thing I want you to remember what you said was he spent the most money on DB in free agency. Not drafting them in the first round. Okay? He has learned through history that you don't do that. Now, let's just say let's get to the next part of the question. Do you say who say that he has to be on the number one receiver? Okay, that's fair enough. The fact that he's the third overall pick. If he's not covering the number one receiver, what did you play him?
You got a point there, but I feel the reason why Bill Belichick probably never got a chance to draft a quarterback that high is probably because the Patriots never really get a chance to. Well, they never had great players fall in their lap, and I feel like Jeff Okuda, when you look at his film, the thing that makes me be confident in Jeff Okuda is his technique. His technique never changes. He's fundamentally sound. He doesn't get rattled. And then against Clemson, again, he went against T. Higgins. T. Higgins should have been a first round pick, and T. Higgins was Clemson's all time leader in touchdowns. So I get what you're saying about T. Higgins, but I'm Okuda.
If you look at each piece of film for that game, he won the route. He just dropped the ball. It had nothing to do with Okuda. He just dropped over and over. Had nothing to do with Okuda.
Hey, a couple of plays I saw Okuda swat some passes down, man. So so you're trying to say T. Higgins destroyed Okuda?
I'm saying that, yes. I'm saying Higgins destroyed Okuda. I remember I had this debate when what's the guy that came out of North Carolina? Jesus. He was in DeAndre Baker was covering him. I'm trying to think of his name. DeAndre Baker was covering. I think he was Oklahoma, not Hollywood. Oh, yeah, it's gonna kill me.
Talking about Jerry Jeudy?
Debo Samuel. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
So I had a subscriber who hit me up and he said, "Hey, look at DeAndre Baker, man. He shut down Debo Samuel." And I was like, "Okay." So I watched the video, but I watched it over and over and over, and I'm like, "Bro, he didn't shut down Debo. And look, Debo only got this many yards, this many catches." I said, his quarterback was missing him left to right, up and down. I said, I'm telling you, he was killing DeAndre Baker. And he's like, you watch your mind. When Debo Samuel in the league, I still do the same thing. Ain't nothing changed. The same thing that I saw that made him become Debo, I saw him do in college. when I went through and I looked at that cruiser game, and my film study, I showed it where I'm like, look, he was grabbing and pulling, it went for one flag. And then everything was rocking. When they ran inside routes or curve or comeback, they killed him. The touchdown that he gave up in the corner, the receivers just basically just ran up there, ran a stop and go on the curve, out, boom, went back inside, and he couldn't do nothing. So I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm saying he's going to go through some growing pains. Hey, he's going to have some games where you're like, yeah, he's balling out. Yes. But it doesn't change your defense. And even if he don't go against the number one corner, let me try to go with that same route. We still got to play the Cardinals. So if he's not covering DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to be probably on either Christian Jones, I'm not Christian Jones, but Kurt Christian, or Hakeem Butler, or Andy Isabella, or Larry Fitzgerald, or, and then he'll keep going. It's going to keep going with the order. But I think we ain't got to worry about that. You're going to get the Vikings. You're going to play Adam Thielen and Jets. So at the very least, he may do Jets. Well, that'll be the best competition he played in college.
Yeah, I mean, to close out this segment, I understand your points because DeAndre Baker, he did really struggle last season, but I still feel like I had my concerns about DeAndre Baker. DeAndre Baker didn't really stand out to me because DeAndre Baker, to be honest, like I would have liked to see what DeAndre Baker would have did against the wide receivers that Alabama had this year. You get what I'm saying? But to close out this topic, I'm not going to say I agree with you, but I'm not going to disagree with you neither because I understand your concerns and you make valid reasons. But I still feel when I look at Jeffrey Okuda, I look at a guy who has great footwork. I look at a guy that has great technique, and I'm looking at a guy with Jeff Okuda and the Detroit Lions system. I think he should be able to flourish because he fits well into the Matt Patricia scheme. And if we're being honest, I think the best place for Jeff Okuda, in my opinion, was probably the Detroit Lions. Because listen, Matt Patricia needs a shutdown corner, or he needs a corner who can at least be better than what the cornerback play has been the last couple of years in Detroit. So, I'm not going to say I agree with you, but I'm not going to say I disagree with you. So, we got Jeff Okuda out of the way. So, I want to talk about the defensive side of football and the offensive side of football. So, we know how good the offense was for Detroit last season. Pretty much was one of the best offenses in the NFL when Matthew Stafford was playing fully healthy. And Matthew Stafford, a lot of people don't want to give him credit. I made a video about it, but Matthew Stafford was an MVP candidate, believe it or not. And then you saw this great offense putting up a lot of points, and the defense was surrendering a lot of points. So going into this year, you can choose which one you want to cover first. How good do you think the offense will be? What improvements have you guys made on the offensive side of football? And then tell me what improvements you guys made on the defense side of football and how good do you feel the defense will be? So you can choose which one you want to dive into first. It's up to you.
Okay. On the offensive side of the ball, they definitely improved the offensive line. Just by player availability. So to me, going out and getting Donald Jackson, good pick. We need a guard. We need a guard big. They added Big B. I would prefer him to play guard over tackle, but hey, he can't be no worse than Rick Wagner. At least that's what my player is. But the thing that's going to be the biggest upgrade is we now will have a two-headed monster as a running back. With Kerryon decides that he's healthy, now you got to contend with Kerryon and DeAndre Swift. And if Kerryon is hurt, well, don't worry about it because as long as Swift is still healthy, you still have to contend with him and he'll be whoever you still win, whether it be Huntley, Ty Johnson, or Bo, Fargo, whoever that is, you still got to contend with that. So the emphasis on trying to run the ball more this year, that's the biggest improvement right there. You're going to definitely get healthy Stafford back. You're going to get back a healthy tight end. But the biggest thing is that they're making an assertive effort to run the ball. The guard that they picked up are run blockers. Okay, Sternberger or Steinberger.
I liked him. Out of Kentucky, yeah. One of the best run blockers.
Run blocker, he want all that flow. Pass blocker, we gonna play about it.
Yeah.
Okay, needs a little work in the pass flow. But they definitely improved on that side of the ball. And I expect that picking it up. I knew it was going to be lit when we got zero pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just went back to the history and just thought about it. I was like, man, he had Brett Favre with him, in Minnesota. And I remember when they added Adrian Peterson, it was even worse. He was like, well, pick your point. So, defensively, will we improve that? In all honesty, I don't see much, in my opinion, on the defense. Because if you go through the defensive line, we had Trey Flowers last year, so that's good. He got more time in the system, so great. You swapped Snacks out, brought in Danny Shelton. I don't think that's really an upgrade. I just don't. Yeah, you pray to God that you sign income that helps you, but if you don't, okay, cool. Because Julian Alcor, he's a guy that everybody was hyped about, but when I looked at him, he might be the talk for talk. Somebody who looked like he could be able to do everything from the here to the moon and jump out of the gym, and it's just gonna take some getting used to. Now the question becomes, are they gonna put him at the DN spot? If they do that, he's taking his brother's spot. So okay. But if you put him up in the 2-point stand and have him rush from the end, okay, cool. I take that too. In the linebacker area, I mean, you brought in Jamie Collins. I know everybody want to get that pick hyped up, but Jamie Collins went over to the Browns and it wasn't pretty.
Oh yeah. Oh, uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And he went back to New England and it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm a little concerned with that. Reggie Ragland has bounced around from team to team. And been on a team with Kansas City, and they still was like, yeah, we can do better.
Well, to be honest, I'll defend it with Kansas City because Kansas City, when it came to when it came to linebackers last offseason, I mean, they went ham at the linebacker position. So I mean, it's also a couple of other guys that also didn't get to play last year that I was really high on from Kansas City. I mean, their linebacker core was stacked, man. I mean, that 4-3 they ran last year was nasty.
No, listen, I get all that, but I'm just saying, Reggie Ragland doesn't move the needle for me. You know what I'm saying? Because now I'm looking at the division. Our division geared up and tight end. Who's covering those guys? Oh, Kenny Collins? Okay. Well, that means you better be getting home with the rest of the D line. And I think they still need work on the D line. You still got Jelani Savard. You still got Jared Davis. Good. But you still got Christian Jones on the team, too. So whatever. You want to go to the secondary. I don't think Jackson Cooper is an upgrade over Darius Slay.
Yeah, I agree. They're about around the same department. I mean, he's younger.
Yeah, but I'm not looking at age. I'm looking at that. If he's going to be able to at least at the very least keep up with his opponents and cause some traffic.
I mean, last year Atlanta's secondary was not really that good. And I mean, if we only had one person to really take out of there that really had the best performance, was probably the Desmond Trufant. I mean, he wasn't getting destroyed by Michael Thomas, so I mean, that has to tell you something.
Listen, I'm with all that, but I'm just going through and I'm saying, if you break down each part of it, you start to ask questions like, okay, then you go down the line. We've been had Justin Coleman, he up and down.
But here, I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but last year, I tried to tell you guys last year, Justin Coleman was not going to be a good fit if you guys moved into the outside because he was a slot corner in Seattle. He was one of the best slot cornerbacks in the NFL before he went to Detroit. And I kept on telling Lions fans, I was like, he'll be solid in the slot. But one thing about slot guys is they get paid to go to new teams. They get paid all this money because teams think they can move into the outside, and they really struggle.
But he wasn't our outside corner. Rashawn Nelson was our outside corner, and when they did play him outside, it was because, we had an injury and they bumped him outside. But again, it was still up and down. Even when he was in the slot, it was still up and down. He made plays, but it was an up and down thing. At the safety position, we went from Quandre Diggs to Tavon Wilson. Tavon Wilson. And then after they got rid of Tavon Wilson, they did bring in Kurt from Minnesota. They did trade for Harvin. But I'm just like, there's nothing about my defense that I feel like scary anymore. There's nothing that when you go through and you look at say like the Pittsburgh Steelers, you can name players like you gotta watch.
Mm-hmm.
We have players that it's like you feel like, hey, the next man across you feel like, hey, I don't have a problem with that. And to me, So I'm trying to put everybody more now because that's definitely going to require a linebacker and a couple tight ends. So I don't really see a lot of big improvements like I would expect. Like I just don't. Um, and I hope he's not done in free agency. So for me, offensively, they definitely improve. Defensively, I feel like it's all lateral if you ask me.
Mm. Okay. Okay. So everybody, this is my guy Luke G from the DSA. Before we let you go, Luke G, first I want to say thank you for coming on, providing some excellent insight for the Detroit Lions. And before we let you get off, let the people know where they can find you at and what is the DSA all about.
Hey, listen, hey, appreciate you having me on. I see you out here hard and work, you putting in this work. Hey, I only talk to people who know football, but listen, DSA is called the Detroit Sports Alliance. And what it is it's basically a group of YouTubers and anybody for that matter who just want to talk Detroit sports. We don't get our fair shake in the media as it is, and the mainstream media don't even want to give us credit. So that's what it is. And then my channel is called Luke G Film Review. I do all Detroit Lions talk. I do film studies, interview breakdowns, and I put a lot of work in. We have a great roster of people, that talk basketball. You can check it on my channel. You see everybody linked. We got a website, DetroitSportsAlliance.com. You catch me on Twitter at PhilG. And so, and also on my show, if you're a subscriber or you're the listener and you're like, hey, I would love to get on there and talk to them. On Luke G, the DSA platform, you are invited to do so. We make sure we get you on and you're a part of the conversation. And so that's the biggest thing too. Just make sure you're a part of the conversation. So when it goes down, and we're excited for that.
Okay. Well, everybody, make sure to go ahead and check out the DSA and Luke G. And Luke G, thank you for coming on, man. And take care, man.
Appreciate it.
Hi, NMD TV. NMD TV, how's it going on, man?
Man, it's doing good. I'm doing good out here. Glad to be on.
So, in this video, us being Miami Hurricane fans, I want to talk about why the Miami Hurricanes are the biggest boom or bust team going into this upcoming college football season. So, the Hurricanes pick up Derek King in the transfer portal, get Rhett Lashley, the takeover at the offensive coordinator position over Dan Enos. So, is it fair to call the Miami Hurricanes a boom or bust team this year? Because look, as Hurricane fans, we've seen this team have some great seasons like 2017 with Mark Richt, and then we see this team really hit the fan like last year getting blown out by Louisiana Tech. So, is it fair to call the Miami Hurricanes the biggest boom or bust team in college football?
I don't know if you want to call it a boom or bust, but I think to the fan base, when you read what the fan base is thinking, I think it has to be either you win the conference, you either win 10 games, or nothing else is acceptable. Because when you look at what they did, you mentioned a lot. They bring in Rhett Lashley for the offense. They bring in Gary Justice for the offensive line. You bring in Derek King, a quarterback that scored about 60 touchdowns in a season a couple seasons ago, a dynamic quarterback. You bring in Quincy Roche, who was the AAC Defensive Player of the Year, double-digit sacks. Gregory Rousseau, who's projected to be a top 10 draft pick in the mock drafts that are out. You have all that on a team that's going to be facing not great competition. You look at their schedule, they're playing Temple, they're playing Michigan State. So I don't know if it's boom or bust, but I can tell you right now that if Miami doesn't win about 10 games, the fan base won't be happy at all, because you look at the roster, you look at how everything's set up, and Miami should win a lot of games next year.
So 10 games off the bat. Those that's the expectations that you have for the Hurricanes this year, right?
Yes, I would say so. And I know a lot of people are going to go crazy and say, well, Miami Hurricanes fans, they say this every year. And I agree with you. I do think, I love the Miami Hurricanes, but I also look at them fairly and I judge them fairly. And I wouldn't be saying this if we had a tough non-conference schedule. When you look at this schedule, and it's literally cupcake. You look at the players added to this team. You look at how games were lost last year. Games were lost because of extra point here or extra point there. A lot of people want to look at it as it was just a horrible season from start to finish, and it was. But when you really look into the games and you see that, the Virginia Tech game, we missed the extra point, and that takes everybody out. You look at the Florida game, a drop catch by Jeff Thomas, and then also a mixed extra point. We were in those games, and now if you tell me that you add a dynamic player like De'Aaron King, and then you add Quincy Roche, and not to mention the recruiting class, I think that's not unreasonable to think that Miami's going to take a step forward next year. And if we don't, that's when problems would occur.
And the quarterback play over the last couple of years, ever since Barrett Kaya left, hasn't really been all that great. Like, even when Miami won 10 games with Malik Rozier, I mean, it wasn't pretty. It was basically the defense, and Malik Rozier was able to hit some big throws down the stretch. But this is probably the best quarterback Miami has had in a while. Would it be fair to say that De'Aaron King is probably the best quarterback Miami has had in the last decade? Or do you think Barrett Kaya could, maybe be a little bit better than De'Aaron King?
Well, I don't want to take anything from Brad Kaya, because what I want to say about Brad Kaya is he did it on the field. He put up those big numbers. He was a good quarterback at Miami. De'Aaron King has a chance to be one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen at Miami. But my motto for this season is I got to see it to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at it on paper, it looks good, it looks nice, but honestly, you can make anything look good on paper.
Yep.
And I think when you look at De'Aaron King's film, he is a dynamic player. I keep saying it. He can run it. He can throw it. He is going to make every defensive coordinator say, okay, we have to shut this guy down. Also with Brett Lashley's offense. But it's easier said than done. So we've got to see it done. And I don't want to crown De'Aaron King until he puts on that Miami Hurricanes jersey and he gets it done.
Yeah, man. So for those of you guys, make sure that you guys check out my guy NMD TV. He uploads college football videos, NFL videos, all kinds of sports content. So I mean, going into this season, Manny Diaz is going into year 2. Now, over the last couple of spans of Miami Hurricanes coaches, we've seen coaches start out slow, but coaches always take that big, giant leap year in their second year. And this is going back to Al Golding. This is going back to Mark Rick. Every Miami Hurricanes coach that we've had over the last couple of seasons has always taken a giant step year 2. So going into year 2 for Manny Diaz, I mean, what makes Manny Diaz a better coach this year than what he was last season?
Well, what I'm hoping is experience. I think last year was tough. It was horrible. But I'm hoping that Manny Diaz learned from what happened last year. And now, he was a rookie head coach. And now he has a year underneath his belt, and now he can get things down. Now, another thing I think that will help him is we hired Gary Justice, who used to be an offensive coordinator. We hired Rob Likens from Arizona State, who used to be an offensive coordinator. And then we brought in Rhett Lashley, who was the offensive coordinator for SMU. SMU last year had one of the best offenses, putting up over 40 points a game, did great things at SMU. They ain't seen nothing like that at SMU until Rhett Lashley got there. So you brought 3 offensive coordinators and you have them on the staff. Now I think Manny Diaz can talk to those guys and they can bounce ideas off of them. And also, Ed Reed is going to be on staff as the chief of staff. So I look at you bringing in 3 brilliant minds. I look at you bringing in a Hall of Famer. And I'm hoping that by you bringing in those guys, that experience, Manny Diaz can learn from his own mistakes, but also bounce off ideas off the guys that we hired, and, of course, the Hall of Famer, Ed Reed. Now, again, because I really want to put this through every Miami Hurricanes fan mind, and I want this to be said. Everything I just said, it looks good on paper, but we got to see, will the coaching staff gel? Will the players respond to the coaching staff? We got to see it done. So everything that's good on paper right now, when the ball kicks off and bullets start to fly, as they say, will everything run smoothly? And I think to answer your question, I think you look at the experience, you look at the people that he brings in around him. I think that's what we can expect. That's why we can expect Manny to improve next year.
So one of my last closing questions is, so we know last year the offensive line was a big reason why the Miami Hurricanes kind of disappointed everybody last year. I mean, the offensive line wasn't really all that great. So what are some major improvements to the offensive line? Like, are there some big position battles that's going to be going on? Are there some impact players that Miami has brought in? What's going to make the offensive line better compared to what it was last season? Because I don't think the offensive line should be at least as bad as what it was last season. Because last season was absolutely terrible.
So the first thing is you bring in Rhett Lashley. Okay, so Rhett Lashley's offense is meant to get the ball out fast. So if you have an offense that's going to get the ball out quickly instead of 5 and 6 step drops, instead of long delay play actions and things like that, then your offensive line is going to like that a lot more. Secondly, you bring in D'Eriq King. Last year, our quarterbacks were sitting ducks. That's just the bottom line. They got feasted on. D'Eriq King, if you dare just rush him, he's going to have the ability to juke you and take it to the house. There's a play. I tried to remember what game it was, but it's slipping my mind right now. But I'm watching this film, and they bring a safety blitz up the middle, and the safety has a beeline for D'Eriq King. D'Eriq King jukes him and takes it to the house. So they're going to have to spy D'Eriq King. So when you have to take a defender to spy D'Eriq King, that keeps you from blitzing as much, which will help the offensive line. Now, as for position battles, we still got to find a solid 5. Newcomers, you're looking at Jalen Rivers, who could come in and I think possibly compete. You're looking at us starting 2 freshman tackles last year that's going to have another year underneath their belt. So that's why I think things will improve, mainly is because of the experience in the offense and because you have an X factor like D'Eriq King at the quarterback position.
Okay, everybody, that's my guy, NMD TV. NMD TV, thank you for coming on, man. And for those of you guys who haven't subscribed to my guy already, make sure you guys subscribe to NMD TV. NMD TV, man, let the people know what podcast platforms you got, what social media platforms you got, all that good stuff, and where the people can find you at.
Yeah, you can find all my stuff is just at NMD TV. Just type in NMD TV, and you will see a couple channels pop up. Take a look at those. If it's something that you like, consider subscribing. And then also you can find me on Twitter at Grant Long with 3 G's, LONGGG, and then at NMD TV, also my Instagram. So, JT, I want to thank you for having me on. And if you listen to this, I appreciate you guys listening to me and my opinion.
Thank you for coming on, man. Take care.